Hey, all you Arizona lovers. This is the Finding Arizona podcast. I'm your host, Jose.
And I'm your producer, Brittany.
And here at Finding Arizona Podcast, we collect the local stories of all entrepreneurs and from around the valley. So join us at findingarizonapodcast.com, where you can hear every episode and see it as well at
YouTube. Like, subscribe, and comment below who you want to see next on our show. And when you're ready to start your podcast, you found the right spot. Found House, your next podcast production company.
Now, let's get back to the show. Score big with SeatGeek. Whether it's concerts, sports, or live events, SeatGeek has you covered. Use code FindingArizona to get a fantastic $20 discount on your SeatGeek tickets. Catch your favorite live events hassle-free with extra savings. Visit SeatGeek.com and make every experience unforgettable.
Hey, all you Arizona lovers. Welcome back to Mane Attraction Salon, where style meets sophistication and every client is treated to an unparalleled beauty experience. With a commitment to excellence, Chris and his team of expert stylists bring passion, creativity, and precision to every cut, color, and treatment. Whether you're looking for a bold transformation or a touch of everyday elegance, they tailor their services to enhance your unique beauty. At Mane Attraction Salon, they don't just create hairstyles, they create confidence. Today, we are back for an in-person update episode that we are calling Rediscovering Arizona, finding their next chapter.
One of the first things that we tell people is that this isn't your normal reception area. Kendall and Beata and the architect designed it specifically because we wanted it to be a lot more welcoming, and you don't have your big imposing front desk. We don't like that idea of like gatekeeper. We're like, why are you here? We want people to come in and feel empowered to mingle. And as part of the reason we have a self-serve, hot tea, coffee bar, self-serve, like little snack area, depending on the season. This is, always wide open. And then we always have a handful of people that are trained to do check-ins and offer beverages and do the tour. So the first thing we do is we always verify information and we give a little, spiel about what's going on. The other thing you'll notice in our Ma shop is what we call this is a lot Ma shop. Is a lot of the like boutique vendors that we bring in. One are local, and two, they have a nonprofit kickback. So there's a philanthropic, kind of an element to all of it. So for example, these bracelets are from a local company named Gem Girl. And for every single one that's bought, she donates $1 to a local animal shelter. These Wear Me Pro are a local Tempe-based company. They actually donate a can of dog food back to the animal community. So like the Tom Shoe Company, when you buy a pair, they give a pair. So we buy a pair and then they give a pair. So these Mane Attraction candles that were co-created with a company called Light and Bark, also a local company, and they donated a percentage of their proceeds to it as well. So when we're not selling hair care, we usually prefer that it's animal related to some degree. So fashion forward, but animal related. We don't do a ton of extensions, but our extension work that we work with at the company is called Easy Hair Pro. I have lots of different options between tape in, sew in, all the different kind of colors. You got plenty of hair. We don't need any of that. So.
The pet section.
Yeah, so the pet section. That photo of me hugging that big dog is actually from one of the prior Beauty to the Rescue events that we've done. It's actually 2 years ago, I think. So, and then every day of the week, we actually personally write out the name of the new clients that are coming in, because that way it's a good way to, introduce them to the salon. So they feel very celebrity-like. So.
We love seeing our names.
Yes. So we have 17 total stations. We have a couple of dedicated processors for people that do color. This is our styling bar. So every salon has something like this. We keep ours really buttoned up, looks really nice, but the products that I would use on your hair are quite different than the products that I'd use on my hair. The stations actually stay very, very open with no products on it. So when we get to the styling portion of it, we're only pulling products that are relevant for you, because your home routine will be specific. So that's one of our points of difference. We're not doing color today, but all of our hairdressers are trained to do color. trained to look at things like eye tone, skin tone, natural color, existing, color in the hair. And we talk about all that. So, but the primary brands that we work with on color is Wella and then Aveda. So we have our restroom/changing rooms back and through here.
The concrete look.
Yeah, it's wallpaper.
Very cool.
Yeah, people constantly are trying to touch it. They think it's actually wallpaper. And then this is our shampoo lounge.
Okay.
So intentionally, we keep this room more dim, lighting's different. And then we want guests to zen out in here. So, that's your time away. So that's kind of the whole purpose. So yeah, the music environment is different. Kind of the whole ambiance, we want it to be a separate space. So this is more utilitarian. I don't know if it's worthwhile to kind of look into, but this is where we do all the, things that nobody gets to see. But you guys can see it. It's, laundry, dishwasher, all that stuff. So. And then we have a on-site call center too. We usually leave this door closed throughout the whole day, but this allows our front desk. We call our front desk client care coordinators. It's a little more elevated from what they do, but we always have somebody back here doing confirmations and answering phone calls. That way, the people that are out here are a lot more client facing, and so that way they can greet people when they come in, give the tours, do all the things that we expect of them. We have a system for every single thing we do. So,
beautiful.
Yep. And then, our retail space is this area. So the two primary hair care brands that we work with are Bumble and Bumble and then Aveda. And we also have some miscellaneous ones, but these are the two main ones that we work with. So, okay, let's get started on your consultation. All right, grab a seat. You got one of the silk hair ties.
Yes. Is that good points?
It is.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, you should have something like that because otherwise the tear on them is just so much. So the very first thing we would like to find out is, did you come in with anything in mind, or did you have any inspiration stuff besides the photos you sent me?
I am just ready to clean her up.
Okay. So let's talk about frequency of kind of how you've done things in the past. When was your last haircut?
Major haircut? I was probably 8. Otherwise, it's been trimmed my whole life.
8 years old?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So this was 5 years ago?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, good.
Otherwise, it's just been trims.
So was that a traumatic experience when you were 8, when you had it all cut off? Okay, fair enough. Okay. So since then, it's... Okay. How short was it at that? You
I was probably this at the time, and it went to my ears.
Okay. Was that a dad taking you to the hair salon moment?
No, it was my mom.
Okay.
With my grandpa, rest in peace.
Okay, fair enough.
So I wanted it long ever since then. So I've just been trimming it to keep up with getting it long.
So how often are you getting trims? Is it every 6 weeks, every 8 weeks, every 3 months?
Honestly?
Yeah.
Once or twice a year.
Okay. So is that just because of logistics? It's difficult for you to just get in?
Yep.
Okay.
Timing. I'm a mom.
Fair enough.
Wife, business owner, all the hats.
Okay, got it. So, my 2 cents is that it should happen more regularly than that. So, I don't recommend going longer than 8 weeks. Your hair is like a fabric. If at the end start to split, it starts to go until it gets to a healthy place. So, we'll talk about the condition of your hair and all of that stuff too. So, talk to me about your rhythm of styling it and putting it up and all that. Are you a once a week washer, or are you
every other day?
Every other day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Usually in the summertime we're in the pool a lot.
Okay.
So it's a lot of chlorine damage.
Okay.
I usually will curl it about 3, maybe 4 times a week. Otherwise it's in a bun or a pony.
Okay. So let me unpack some of those things. So the day you wash it, what are you washing with? Shampoo, conditioner, wash?
Yeah, shampoo and conditioner Nexus.
Okay. Is it for dryness? Is it for color? What is the...
It's for general, all-purpose.
Okay.
Husband and wife share it. Costco, Giant.
Okay. There's usually a lot of fillers and other, ingredients in those like big Costco products that we're not huge fans of because they will have a tendency, and because you have a lot of very fine hair that will like make your hair over time brittle and like actually add some of the frizz that you're not really wanting. So I'd probably recommend getting on more of a professional grade because you can use less of it and you have a better outcome.
And I can get my own shampoo.
Yes.
I don't have to share.
Yeah. I mean, there are some, depending on like the couple, we can find something that's universal for the both of you. So, okay. So day one, you shampoo, condition. What styling products are you using? You mentioned you're using heat with hot tools. Do you have heat protectants or no styling products in afterwards? Is that because you just haven't found something that works? Is it just because you just have had bad experiences in the past?
It's probably because I grew up doing ballet and professional entertainment. And so all I know is like Aquanet.
Okay.
And nothing.
Okay.
Nothing was introduced to me.
Okay.
I never went off and was like experimenting on my own. I just kind of stuck with the basics. So I don't know if you paint or you do your makeup, right? Yeah. But a lot of times you want to have some sort of like primer on your hair. It's pretty similar to when you do hair, especially if you're going to put a hot tool to it. So you want to have something on it as like a base just to help with the frizz. I mean, Arizona is a tough climate to live in. I mean, we have hard water. The climate's not easy here. So and if you're using an over-the-counter shampoo and not using something, you're kind of compounding what a problem that could happen. So, because if we cut our hair a little bit shorter, the goal here is to get a little bit of volume, and you'll fight that if you don't have like the proper products in there. So, no haircut will exclusively do that. You need to do some of it kind of at home. So we'll give you some recommendations. It's helpful for me to kind of know what it is you do. So you mentioned you put your hair into ponytails most of the time because of your lifestyle. Yeah. Is it low ponytails, high ponytails? You mentioned buns. Yeah, low bun, like what you saw today.
Okay, got it.
Otherwise, it's probably like a curl for work 3 or 4 days a week.
Okay. So if there were pieces that like came out in the front after you put it back, like for your lifestyle, does that make you nervous or okay?
No, I like it.
Okay, got it.
I think about bangs sometimes.
Okay.
I think about jumping off the cliff and doing some crazy stuff, but I don't.
Well, sometimes we can dip our toes in it, and they can be gateway drugs where we just like do a little bit and you're like, I want more. And then eventually have a pixie haircut. But we can keep you from doing that extreme. Yes. So we'll start off somewhere and we'll kind of go from there. Cool. So there's usually not one look that works for people. There's usually many. And like one of the trump cards that we find is lifestyle. So although you may look good with a bob, it just wouldn't, like you would have to do it more regularly. You'd have to come in more than a couple of months. So although it would aesthetically look really great on you, it wouldn't great for you who you are. Right. So we have to factor that in, which is why we pause and like ask all this stuff. So I see a little bit of color. I know we're not doing color today, but talking about your color history real quick.
Box dye like once every 4 or 5 years when I'm feeling crazy. I didn't do it.
4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Wow, you were really, really low maintenance with some of that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I think I've dyed my hair twice since I've known him. We've been together 6 or 7 years. 8 years.
When's the last time you colored it this time?
1.5 years.
Okay.
And it was like
so some of this is just natural kind of getting, and you do have a lot of you've got a great tonality. Yeah. Most people are very like flat or mousy with their color. You actually have a lot of good tone.
In the summer, it lightens up. In the winter, I'm recluse, so it darkens.
Okay, recluse. Okay, good. I see some of these like growth patterns kind of in the front, right?
Yeah,
like you have
my baby hairs I just had my son 4 years ago.
Okay. And it's pretty common to have, kind of some shallowness kind of in the area. It usually gets worse after pregnancy and kind of babies and whatnot. But you also have some pretty good like cowlicks kind of in addition to that. So if we do land on a bang, we will definitely make sure that it will work with some of that with how low maintenance you are. Because I want you to still be able to tuck it or get it out of your face. I don't think doing like a 6-year-old straight across bang at this point would be great with, kind of your maintenance stuff. I mean, some of us that live in hair can maintain that and we need to cut it every 2 weeks and like it works great, but I don't think that would be good for you.
6 years. Whoa.
Yeah. So when you style your hair and you curl it, do you push it like both ways? Do you take some of this and go that way and take some of this and kind of go this way?
Just kind of whatever. And then midway of the day, I'll throw her this way. Midway, I'll throw her that way.
Okay. Got it.
I try and do the side or the center part because that's what's popular now.
Yeah.
But I'm still a millennial, so I need to do side parts.
Okay. Yeah. We always hear about that trending and like what people would, what's best. And our personal thought is it's best to work with your hair. Yeah. So if your hair always naturally parted this way, if we go the opposite way, you might get a lot of natural like volume. Because even if I do this, you can kind of tell like you get a little bit of height in through here. I think objectively, one of the reasons to have more of a center part is just to kind of conceal some of the like shallowness kind of in this area. Yeah. Because if we chose a part that was like really far to the left or really far to the right, it would unnecessarily expose some of that. Yeah. So having it in the center kind of helps, kind of seal that. So face shape wise, you definitely have some corners kind of in through here. We don't like to put labels on it, but you're like me, a little boxy. Yep. So having like some angles in through here is ideal. So if we do a bang, having something like sitting down into your cheekbone or a little bit longer, but to the side is ideal. But I think this length is just too long for you. Yeah. You typically don't want your hair to be longer than a third of your body height. We're getting like pretty close to that. Yeah. So long hair is really sensitive for people that have long hair. Because if I were to cut a couple inches off, you would feel like it's short. Yes. I would think our safe space is somewhere from like here to like here. I don't know if I'd really suggest going any shorter than this. And part of the reason is what I mentioned earlier is just lifestyle. It would really disrupt your like buns. You'd still be able to easily get it back into like a low ponytail. So like that's not a concern. But it like just past like your collarbone would be the shortest that I would go. I think hearing everything that I'm hearing about you, I think we should probably meet somewhere kind of in the middle. Yeah. And I think if we do something like in through this range, it would be your family and friends would notice like, oh my God, you got a haircut. Yeah. Sometimes that's not the goal. Sometimes the goal is to be like, can I sneak in, sneak out and people not see that I did it? But I think in your case, let's do it, especially because it's been a minute that you've had like a proper like haircut. So lengthwise, I think this should come up to here in the front. I think the other thing that we should explore is adding a little bit of face framing. Yeah. And right now it's all very, very long.
It's one single layer.
Yeah, you don't have anything going on in the front. So the days that you curl it, although it probably looks great, like it would be really enhanced. And you don't look your best when it's flat here. Like we've already talked about like this shape. So it would be better if we get you a little bit of height here without all of the fullness to the bottom. So this could be a little bit more narrow and we get a little bit of height here, with just some more movement. Like that would probably be my preference.
Love that.
So, I think that we should probably do some really long bangs in through here. And whether we call this bangs or face trimming, but I think the shortest piece should kind of sit like down in through this area. And we really want to work with your S wave and make sure that it's on the way out. So I would think the shortest piece kind of in the front would be like right below your jawline. Because if I cut it here, you're constantly going to fight it and it's going to want to come into your face rather than having it come away. Because I think you also look better with like exposing some of your face and your neck rather than like crowding you. I don't think like this is a great look on you. Like this though is like much, much better. Yes. So if the length is going to be sitting kind of in through here, I do envision the face framing just sitting through like this bottom section and kind of open it up. And I think the layering should be kind of much the same too. I'll show you from the back what it's all going to look like. But from the front, I would think that the shortest layer is probably going to sit, maybe by your shoulder. Do you do much braiding with your hair? You do?
Sometimes not.
So I don't envision with the amount of layering that we put in that like braiding is going to get complicated for you to, it won't react exactly the same as what you're doing now. Because right now it's all one length. So you have no problem 3-strand braiding everything into something. But when you have shorter pieces, at some point, those will start to like pop out of the braid. So I like to paint pictures in the future when you get home, because you're like, oh my God, Chris did me dirty. And now I can't do this thing anymore that I'm used to doing.
And you're also showing me the good styling to put in, not my husband's pomade to keep my braid in all day.
Yeah. Oh my God, you're sharing shampoo, styling product. Yeah, no, let's stop this. Okay, perfect.
Ask him what styling products he uses.
Okay. Well, usually it's the other way around, where like they're just trying to figure out what you have and trying to go that route.
Like that Old Spice commercial. Who took my Old Spice again?
All right. Well, this is recorded. I hope you don't share deodorant, Okay. So let's talk about the back, because I think that it's good to get a visual of what this looks like in the back. So this texture that I'm like seeing kind of back and through here, is this all your natural texture, or is it like if you were to naturally style, because it was in a bun when you come here, if you were to naturally let it go, what kind of texture are we looking at? Is this it?
That's it.
Okay. Now, most people are a little straighter on top. So that's been your experience too, where it's like curlier here. Yep. I doubt you've explored like curly products to try to enhance like this.
Only on the Pinterest. I haven't got any further than that.
Okay. I don't know if your hair will hold it anyways. And it definitely won't now with the length that it is. Yeah. Because right now with it being one length, this is pulling. Yeah. So it won't do that. A little bit of my concern is that you have a little bit of natural like frizz in it as well. So although a leave-in conditioner will help like calm some of that down, I think if you let it be curly, it would look pretty organic and natural, which seems like vibes with you real well. Yeah. Some people can't handle that. They work in a situation that they need it to be super polished. So, I mean, once we do the layering, I'd be really curious to hear back feedback on how it reacts on like wash and go days, rather than like the blow dried day.
In high school, we used to mousse it, remember?
Yeah.
Like, oh no.
Okay, that didn't work.
My dad's mousse too.
That didn't work well for you?
I mean, it didn't hold, to your point.
Okay.
It would, but it wouldn't hold all day.
Yeah, and I think even with the like with enough Aquanet, it still wouldn't, No. So okay. Oh, no. Let's talk about the back. So this is, I mean, a good visual of it just being overwhelming on you right now. Yes. Actually, it's so long right now. Do you do me a favor and stand up real quick? And then we're going to do it this way. So stand right in front of this chair and look at me. Yep. And then there. Yep. So, and you can see the line that needs to kind of come up to.
Oh, 1,000%.
You see like right where it starts to get really shallow is like all through here. So like this length, kind of rolling into the front is what I was talking about, is what needs to go. And you're going to get into a really healthy space. Yep. It's also right now super horizontal. You have a ton of hair this way, which is not good for anybody's frame. It would be better if it was just slightly rounded and it was just a little softer kind of moving in here. Because again, it's just right now it's very overwhelming on you. And being one length, it's just a lot. So I think if the length comes up to here, and then again, your layering is going to be in this bottom like third section, you'll get a lot more height and width kind of up in here that you need. So that's kind of the general vision of the back part. Okay, cool. Sit down one more time. Okay.
It just speaks to you.
Come again?
The hair just speaks to you.
Yeah. Well, after you've seen it many, many times, some things start to come into focus. We always tell our proteges that are going through the training program, because in the beginning you don't see it as clearly, but that's why we train so often. Eventually it becomes like those books that you can has like an image behind the image, and you can go here and be like, oh, it's a dolphin. Oh, that's a frog. So like now I can walk into a mall and be like, you should do this and that. And I'm even scoping out Jose's hair. Like some of the weight lines needs to be adjusted a little bit. Hey. We're not doing a consultation on you today, but
I'm literally, so I let this kind of run its course, and now I feel like I need to step in and just be like, we're starting the podcast right now, because I love the fact that, again, you've divulged so much of your knowledge on her. And I feel like this is a good place to ask you of like, this is one of the things that you've invested in a lot of your time with giving back to those who want to be educated. I think overall, we're here today to kind of get that experience full on. And I wanted to ask you, as an owner, why so much of this training portion, the in-house training, is such a significant thing for you to help others that want to learn.
Wow, that's a super layered answer that I have rolling through my head. The first thing that comes to mind is because it was what was given to me.
Yes.
And coming out of beauty school, you're very, very green. Mm-hmm. You get your license, which is the goal of beauty school, but there's lots that you don't know.
Yes.
So we consider our training program to be like getting your master's in hair.
Yeah.
So coming out of beauty school is like your GED.
Yes.
But to do hair at a high level, which is the way that we want to approach it, you need to make sure that you go through proper training.
Sure.
And so I was very mentored when I first came out of beauty school, and I sought out Mane Attraction Salon. This is the first salon that I've ever worked at.
Nice.
Because of the training. And my criteria when I was looking for a salon is the training program that was the most difficult, because I knew the outcome was going to be that I understand how to move hair around.
The best perception of yourself, or the best version of yourself.
Fair enough. Which I got most of the way. And then I think it really accelerated when I became a teacher, because I think I understood it. But then when I was asked questions, I couldn't give that answer just because. As a parent would give you.
Yeah.
So I really needed to understand it. So now when a client says, well, why would you do that? There needs to be backing behind the information. And we take a step back always with the proteges. Like we do things like, hey, let's look at everybody's face shape. Yeah. That is very uncomfortable for people. Maybe not so much for you, because that's what you want. And the other analogy that we go through is a lot like going to a doctor. If you were to go to a doctor and say, my arm is hurting, the doctor wouldn't turn the questions around on you. Yes. So maybe that conversation would look like, well, what would you like to do with your arm? And the client's like, well, I don't know, it's hurting. Like I need medicine. And then the doctor might say, well, what kind of medicine would you like to take? Yeah. Like the whole time you should be thinking, well, that's your job. Like I'm here because I'm like that. So we think of ourselves as the doctor. Okay. So a guest might express, I'm having a concern with this or that. And they don't have even the language in order to really tell us what's not working. But we should be able to objectively look at a guest and say, okay, these are things that we should change.
Yes.
The tough part, it is emotional and it is a little subjective. Yeah. So this is, a decision that you have to live with for a little while.
So one part doctor, one part psychiatrist, where you're just like having to like give them the right tools to accept that there's going to be some significant changes when it comes to these types of stylings.
You're right. It's a balancing act. It's really important as a hairdresser to know when to push somebody off the ledge. Yeah. And then when to like come back a minute.
For sure.
And sometimes there's like things that we can do where we can test the water where it's not, for example, with your bangs, right? Like, let's say that my recommendation was to do something like really short, right? Like corner your eye to like maybe the bottom part of your cheekbone is like the solution. And I do that and I get it wrong, right? Or maybe that's your recommendation and I didn't argue it. I just said, great, let's go. And it doesn't work for you. In order to get this hair down to here, we're looking at about 1.5 years. So some of these decisions you live with for a minute. Now, if we cut it here and you're like, oh my God, it was so liberating. I haven't had a haircut like that in a while. Let's go a little bit shorter. And then we go up to the corner of your mouth. Well, that's a much better solution. Yes. Now, if you've always had hair here and you're like, oh my God, I've been thinking about this for 2 years. I want it cut short. Let's go. Great. I don't need to argue with that if I agree with them. Yes. Sometimes we get guests from out of town that they're new to the city and they search for us and they're like, hey, I want, the best. So they'll come to Mane Attraction. We'll do a consultation. Yes. And I say, I wouldn't change anything. Everything about your haircut is the way I would do it if I was the one doing it. Yeah. So, and sometimes people bring in photos and say, I want to do this. And I said, well, you don't look like that. You don't have the same body shape. You don't have the same face shape. You don't have the same hair texture. So even though technically I'm capable of giving you that haircut, unless I followed you around with a fan and a mirror and like it won't look like that, right? And that was a still image captured in 1 second. That person wakes up tomorrow and they probably don't look like that. Yeah. So we need to be more realistic about who you are, how often you're washing it, where you put it up, like what is your lifestyle? Are you a busy professional? Like sometimes we get lawyers in here that need to be in front of judges, but on the weekends go to Burning Man. So they want pink but they can't show it.
Yes.
Right. So like we have to find a way to sometimes let clients have their cake and eat it too. But getting a good read, we don't do consultations without letting people like come in with the way that they dress.
Yeah.
Sometimes when people come in with scrubs on, like there's so much that I know.
Oh, wow.
I know so much about your life before I even say hello to you that we could engage with.
Nice.
So this does take a while. I mean, you guys all heard the 10,000 hour rule. So, I mean, over a long period of time, hairdressers get really, really tuned into these things.
That's awesome.
We just try to expedite it. Getting back to your original question.
Yeah.
So our first year stylists are not first year stylists.
Yeah.
Our first year stylists have gone through 1,000 hours of hands-on training that are very intense and focused. And we take that steps back everywhere. So, and we're technique driven. We're not haircut driven.
Okay,
so the haircut that I'm going to give you is going to combine 1, 2, 3, 4 different cutting techniques. And then we'll obviously style your hair differently. So, but we don't teach Brittany's haircut because there's all sorts of things that I'm going to modify based on your hair to how I'm going to cut it to make it fit on you. So
this is awesome. I mean, originally, again, I usually do these introductions into our guests with just like, hey, how's it going? What's your name? But as many people will already read when we do this and publish this, is that you're Chris. This is Mane Attraction Salon. We've had an episode with you during COVID, and now we're actually getting the full experience, or at least Brittany, one of us is. And I think one of the things that I'm just so taken aback by, because what we experienced during our Zoom call was just kind of a sharing of ideas and sharing of experience of what we were going through at that moment. At the time, it was very non-hands-on and non-personal. Now, as I see you in this different environment, I can see just the level of technicality, the level of professionalism, the level of like technique that you have just in the consultation of just one-on-one and being in person. So I think the question that I would have is, how easy was it to get back into it after things started to ease up and we could get more face-to-face during that experience of having to stay further apart? Was it harder for you to hey, I'm trying to learn certain techniques, or I'm trying to, be more touchy-feely with you now that we're like, what was that transition period like?
I think it was so situational based on the client needs. I mean, certain clients were very high risk, so that engagement was a little different.
Yeah.
Was it difficult to get back on it? No. I mean, it's like riding a bike.
Yeah.
And once you understand it, that knowledge never goes away.
Yeah.
I think we were very anxious to get back to it. But the consultations, even for people that we've been doing for a really long time, every single one of them shifted.
Yeah.
So not a single person came back from the pandemic and said, just same thing. Great. I loved everything that I did last time. There were many people that had color that had 6 months of gray that now we're like,
oh yeah,
I never seen that much of my gray. Let's see where this goes.
Yeah, let's figure it out.
Let's figure that out. There were a lot of people that went on their own and started doing box color poorly. So we did a lot of corrective color.
Got it.
There were a lot of our guests that allowed their significant other to try cutting their hair. And so we were fixing a lot of like weird haircuts.
Yeah.
There was a guest of mine that the first time I cut her hair after the pandemic, this very first section was 6 inches shorter than all the other ones, but it was a very clean line. And I said, what happened? She's like, well, I let my husband cut my hair, but he cut it way too short. And I knew it the moment he did it. And I just told him to stop. And I said, okay, well, I'm glad we could hide it for a little while. So yeah. So the pandemic brought all sorts of like nuances to our day-to-day life that wasn't
new challenges, but also kind of resorting back to like, let's get back to our fundamentals, so to speak.
And that's exciting for us. I think when we get a new guest in our chair, it's like lifeblood to me as a hairdresser, because it's this, and I don't take my existing clients for granted. I'm constantly trying to plant seeds and, hey, we thought about this, or, we've been done blonde forever, or maybe we should do some low lighting.
Yeah.
Like we should change it. Right.
Yeah.
Like maybe we did this length, maybe we should push it a little bit more next time, or, maybe the haircut is very functional and now we layer in some other newness, maybe it's color, maybe it's something different. Sometimes it's just condition, maybe even like taking home an at-home mask you know, is kind of enough of a change for a guest.
Yeah.
So I think we as humans just desire something different.
Yeah.
We always want what we don't have. Well, we always want something a little bit different than what we do have.
Yeah.
So yeah, that continues to be like a wave. You know, we saw a lot of new guests during that time. So we were averaging about 200, 230 new clients a month during post-pandemic times.
Wow.
Because salons were closing.
Yes.
People were retiring. Hairdressers just weren't doing it the same anymore.
Yeah.
Or they were unsafe. They weren't doing it correctly. And I think that was a unique opportunity for us. So we built like a whole new customer base.
That's awesome.
In some ways. So
it's sad in that, you know, some places just really had to shut down, and then it's exciting that you guys took it upon yourselves to really pick up the slack, and just really having to, again, I say this one-on-one thing is just really fundamental and just really helpful, like to bring into the account their daily routines, but also their environment. You know, we're in a desert climate, and so that can have, you know, all sorts of results on your hair as well. Being out in the sun, if you are an outdoor person, if not, you're dealing with, you know, color and things like that get affected from the chemicals. And you look at overall, just this one-to-one seems like there's a lot of education to the customer as well. So I think that's really a pivotal to help them really kind of come to terms with what they're doing and come to just appreciate their own hair at the time. And just like, so the one thing that you brought up and that I think is really such a cool saying, and I want to know where you guys came from with it, is more high touch than high tech. And I'd love to hear from you where you came up with that and what it means to you.
I think this is a great segue to let me shampoo Brittany first.
Yeah, let's do it.
Because then I can get cutting and continue to talk about some of this.
Beautiful.
Because that it was a step that we do with everybody. We very rarely will cut someone's hair dry. And for many, many reasons, in her case, I want to wash it first. One, I just want to have a clean palette. Two, I want to see natural texture. And when it's wet, I can see more clearly the growth patterns and what's happening. So even the way that we section her hair will be very unique.
Beautiful.
And so, yeah, we don't envision a robot anytime soon doing that component. But they will do other components, which we can address. And that's where I think the high touch, high tech kind of piece kind of rolls into play. So
sounds great.
I think coming out of the pandemic, being isolated, we have some clients of ours that don't have family at home, don't have a significant other at home, don't have pets at home, don't have live plants at home. So these people that live on their own, the only sense of touch that they get is seeing a doctor, a dentist, a nail tech, hairdresser. So I think we are very aware of the power that we have, the butterfly effect of being the high touch component of some people's lives. Not even high touch, the only touch. You know, think about it. If you weren't in a relationship,
you know what? In all honesty, that blows my mind, because it's like I never really thought about it that way, especially for a hair, like your hair. Yeah, how much touch you get in those very significant moments of, like, if you don't get out much, or if you don't, like you said, have those components in your life, it's the only thing that you have as far as a physical touch aspect. And that, as someone who likes physical touch, and it's just one of those things, it's like, oh yeah, that makes total sense that this is so significant. And so, like, to have someone who understands and appreciates that, that's incredible.
Well, I don't think you start as a hairdresser without having some sense that you enjoy being around people. right? Or have some sort of, deep love in your heart that you want to kind of give back. But I don't think, we take that lightly. And I for sure don't as a hairdresser. So, when I have a client in my chair, even the little things that we do, matter greatly. And we teach our proteges who do a significant amount of the shampoo load, to think about that. You don't know what someone's going through in their personal life. And, sometimes we can set them off in like a trajectory that's much different than when they show up. This is a very feel good environment. And, we really want to double down on that effort. So, we try to teach them to, you have to treat your, 9 a.m. appointment, as seriously as you treat your 8 p.m. appointment, right? That person's paying no less. They're probably experiencing no less like hardship in their life, So I don't think we know what our guests are truly going through unless they're open and honest and like share that stuff with people. So that's one layer of the high touch, kind of piece. Now I think where it's headed, where I feel like there will be a lot more integration, and I'm open to this being a bigger part of our business, is the virtual concierge or the booking platforms. And like we very much double down into high tech, kind of options with that stuff.
Yeah. Can you give us a little insight into what that looks like? Or is that more of like AI that's getting involved with that portion
It's
of it?
getting there really closely. Our software company that we work with is a company called Zenoti, and I just went to a conference with our general manager, Sammy, in October. And if they said one thing, they said it 40 times, that receptionists will, become obsolete. Now, I don't think that that's a healthy outcome. I actually do believe that there's a high need for us to maintain a warm body to talk to when they get on the phone, at least in the foreseeable future, because I just can't envision computers picking up on the nuances that we expect our front desk to pick up on.
Yes.
So, like, for example, if one of our receptionists is answering a phone call, booking an appointment, and we catch wind that they're coming in because it's their 40th wedding anniversary, we notate that. We document it. We celebrate it. We have a card kind of made for the client, when they come in. And until AI gets, the love component down right, I'm not super interested in doubling down on that. But from just an online booking platform or reservation platform, like that's a good idea.
Yes.
Okay, your hair's pretty long. So do me a favor, sit up in the chair just a tad, and then put your head all the way forward.
Yeah, I just feel like I got Mr. Miyagi'd over here, because I was like, you had brought up being in the moment for the shampooing and being more just quiet in this area. And it wasn't until you actually got started, I was like, oh my God, like it does make me feel calmer in this moment and just more
in the shampoo area.
Yeah, in the shampoo area and at peace. Where did you pick that up, I guess, and why is it such a significant portion of like being close and bonded in the shampooing part, and just being, I guess, more apt to being silent in the moment and just being more direct to one another?
I think it's come from my own experience and just understanding the power of that and the sense of gratitude that guests have experienced, just are expressed to me with, oh my God, that was amazing. I needed that. And it got me to think, like, how many other guests needed that, but just didn't say that out loud.
Yeah.
Right. And so it dawned on me that I really, really need to tune in. I'll tell a quick story, and it's not my story, but I'll paraphrase it. There was this gentleman that owned a salon group out in Minneapolis. The gentleman's name is David Wagner. And he wrote a book that was actually on the Oprah show called Life as a Daymaker. And it was based on a client experience he had as a hairdresser. And the experience went something like this. Mrs. Smith was his client, came in every single Wednesday for a blow dry, never skipped a beat, always Wednesday, always at 2:00. Decided one day to call the salon, booked an appointment on Monday at 1:00.
Yeah.
David didn't think anything of it, just basically kind of went with the flow. And greeted her like always, treated her like $1 million. And then, finished it, gave her a hug like he always said, I love you. I'll see you Wednesday. Tuesday rolled around. He got a letter and said, Dear David, I didn't express this to you, but the reason I came in on Monday instead of Wednesday is that I was going to commit suicide. And the reason I didn't is because of the time we spent together. I wanted to look good at my funeral, so I felt like I needed to blow dry. But because of the time that we spent, I decided to not go through with it. I will see you tomorrow. So I think not everybody that sits in your chair is on the edge, but it kind of goes back to you just don't really know what people are going through.
Absolutely.
And I think until you have a real good appreciation for that. So I've always lived my life as a hairdresser, just really paying attention. And it's one of the few industries that we get immediate gratification. We know immediately if we did something good or bad. So that is positive and could be negative.
Yeah.
If we cut someone's hair and it's like, oh, that's not what I expected. That can be traumatic. But it's different than in the real estate world where maybe a deal might take 6 months to a year and you get a happy customer, but you get one way late.
Yeah.
We get something immediately. So if you have somebody that is maybe not thriving and they spend some time with you and they leave fulfilled and happy and on the way up. But I also think that responsibility is really, really lost, with lots of hairdressers. And we just don't take that seriously.
Yeah. I think it's something beautiful that you're giving to your students and this just new education that you're providing them. And we do have someone here with us today. I wanted to ask you really quickly if you want to step next to me and so we can pick you up. What's one of the first things that you really took away from just your lesson course?
The devil's are in the details always, as Chris is saying. Not only from a technical aspect, but even what he was just speaking about. Not everyone's. We don't know everyone's story. So sometimes those regular clients that we may do have, picking up on those subtleties of when they're feeling off, and if their client's open, talking to them about it.
Yeah.
Jada, how many short haircuts did you do in beauty school?
Probably 2.
So I say that to say that the reason that a lot of people start with us is because they really need the technical skills.
Got it.
I actually hire for heart and I train for skill.
Okay.
I don't do technical interviews. So I actually have no idea how well somebody is at doing hair before they start with me.
Okay.
Because I'm not interested in that. I am interested in people's ability to care.
Yeah.
And then we can train them the other stuff. So we actually don't talk a whole lot about the care stuff because they come in that way.
Yeah.
So if you were walking out and you dropped a $20 bill, Jada would chase you down to give it back.
Yeah.
She wouldn't be like, ooh, cool, lunch is on me. So that's the kind of environment that we really want to kind of embrace here. I think that's common again amongst hairdressers. It's not unique to us because you have to care. There's a deep level of care that's kind of there, and care about the craft, care about the person, and that's one thing that Jada has always been really, really, really strong with is caring for the craft. If you ever kind of engage with Jada or any one of our proteges about, hey, here's how we're going to do this technically, they are zoned in because that's the reason they're here.
Yeah.
So, because if they knew how to do everything, they wouldn't need us and they probably wouldn't persevere through the effort that we're pushing it through. because it is not easy to get through our training program.
You had brought up in the beginning doing 4 different techniques with her hair today.
Yeah.
Can you give us a little insight on like what those 4 are? Are you doing one now? Like what are we going to move into next?
Yeah. So, I mean, one of the techniques that we do with Brittany's haircut is a 1-length haircut.
Okay.
So she has a current 1-length haircut. We're just taking it shorter.
Okay.
And then we're going to do work with her bangs, and then we're going to do face framing. And then we're going to do some layering with her.
Beautiful.
So, but like highly specific. So like, yes, this is a 1-length, but it is a rounded 1-length. So shape comes like front and center.
Got it.
Face framing in her case, we're going to keep elevation a little bit low. We're going to keep it very frontal because I want her to maintain a lot of the length in the face framing from the back. And then with the layering, that technique is actually designed to push hair off of her face rather than towards her face. But then there's elements with, it's a little bit like a golf swing, right? Where, I mean, you might take a 7-iron, but, depending on the green, you may choke it up, you may choke it down. There might be a bend. So you might be trying to hit a slice, or whatever the scenario is. So we'll take a technique like round layering, but we're going to modify it for this situation to hit really close.
Jada's already zoned in.
Yeah, well, Jada's already got it figured out with what kind of over direction I'm going to do probably, and what kind of finger angle I'm going to do with the round layering, depending on, what's like currently kind of happening here. So, and then there are principles. We're very principle based. So even with the 1-length, we have a lot of acronyms. So we teach it with, cutting with no toe. So toe stands for tension. Actually, Jada, what does toe stand for?
Toe stands for tension, over direction, and elevation.
So if you wanted a pure 1-length haircut, regardless of the length, whether it's here or here or here, there's some first principles that we kind of teach with that.
Okay.
Our sections will always mirror our cut lines. So, I mean, these are the things that we teach. So that way it's duplicatable. And that way, if I'm ever on vacation or not here and Jada's on the floor and they absorb one of our clients, they can pick up where we left off and make edits as needed. Because sometimes the client will come back and say, it was great, but it just wasn't, I don't know why it wasn't perfect. So then our thought is, okay, so what part of do we need to modify? The over direction, the elevation, the finger angle, like what are we tweaking to get it even closer? So our experience is usually like we're on the target, we're just not hitting the bullseye.
Got it.
So how can we get closer to the bullseye? Okay. And we want like all of our proteges, when they get out of the program, they're getting real close to bullseye marks all the time.
Okay.
It's like a sharpshooter type of thing. So
I like that. It seems like your what you guys are teaching is like the Ivy League of colleges. And I think it's really awesome that you approach it that way too, because again, there's a level of like experience that you go into with every sort of thing that you service-based industry, whatever it is, you want the best of the best. One of the things that I think what makes you guys one of the best is the fact that you guys have been available and working on the craft for the last 40 plus years. And when you jumped in as owner, I would love to understand why the educational part, like what you were excited for to bring to the table, and then why you continually just really want to approach it at a high level of like reaching the bullseye every time.
So every question you ask, I feel like there's layers to this. So I guess the very first thing that I'll say is that doing great hair is very technique driven.
Yeah.
Okay. And those are antiques. Those are things that have been things around forever.
Yeah.
I didn't establish, no toe in a 1-length.
Yeah.
But neither did the previous owner.
Yeah.
There are some pioneers in our industry that have. Vidal Sassoon is one of them. So our training is very Sassoon based and very DNA that way. And we've just, enhanced on top of that. So that was something that I was unwilling to make edits to and you can't improve on fundamental truths in hair.
Yes.
If I do this, this will happen. There's no wiggle room around that.
Yeah.
That is a fact.
Yes.
Now, the thing that I wanted to bring to the table, which was, hidden in amongst it, was more the soft skills piece, right?
Mm-hmm.
We work with a lot of people that have really good intentions, but don't have maybe the communication skills or some of that. So like, that's where I really want to double down on. So our curriculum is like half MBA boot camp and what it's like to do the numbers of being a hairdresser, because you can't be a starving artist.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you don't understand the power of pre-booking and retail and some of the metrics that will drive you, you'll never win a long term. You might have some early success, but you won't maintain a clientele. Self-marketing, there's like 18 different little components that you have to measure. Like how you set up for the day. Are you ready? Are you have your tickets? Are you zoned in on like what your day is? And it's a lot like being a doctor. And when you roll in, or an attorney. And so we want people to take it that seriously. So we've spent a lot of time with our group about, things like dress code and things like filler words. We once in a while we'll have I have a protege. You can lean back now. We'll have a protege who will have maybe say like or and we'll count in a consultation and say, well, you did that 42 times in 4 minutes. We need to adjust that. So, so those are the things that I was highly focused on. And it wasn't that it wasn't there already in our program, but I felt like that would make a measurable impact with people long term. But the technical stuff
has always been there.
The thing that does evolve is some technology in color has definitely changed.
Mm-hmm.
So, since I've been a hairdresser, there's been, new technology in color that's allowed for new techniques to be established. But I'll go back to technique driven again. So, for example, balayage. All right. Everybody thinks of that differently, but it's like hair painting. It's that long sun-kissed, like Victoria's Secret type of feeling.
Yeah.
That has come with products that have made that technique possible.
Got it.
So, but when a new product creates a new technique, that's what we teach. We don't teach, the color. We teach the technique behind it. So,
okay, nice.
If that makes sense. On the cutting side, it's much more fundamental that way.
Yeah.
We always tell people, you can't manufacture an antique, and that's kind of the way to think about it. So,
one of the things that also is something that comes with the time that you guys have been open for is what you guys give back to the community. And one of the things that we were given as far as information about what's coming up for you guys got a new event coming up, or a big event, sorry.
Yeah.
It's definitely the 25th annual. Why don't you go into it, Chris? Because I would be remiss if I did not give you the opportunity to share this wonderful event that you guys put on yearly.
So being the third owner of the company, there's lots of stuff that I didn't establish myself, but the reasons that I started here to begin with. And as you guys both know, I actually the third owner. So even Kendall and Beata, they took things, which was my predecessor.
Yeah.
They took things from Merino and, kind of went on with it from there.
Yeah.
Beauty to the Rescue is actually something that was established back in 2000. And it was this event that was kind of designed to raise money and awareness for the animal community.
Yeah.
Lots of cats and dogs out there that need homes that would have been otherwise euthanized. And so they started this event and they had this cut-a-thon. And they had it kind of like a carnival type of, environment. And they had a DJ and, kind of vendors and silent auction and all that stuff. And this was back in 2000. So when Jenny and I, and I had participated in many, many of them as a stylist, but we wanted to keep that going. So fast forward, we're actually at our 25th event.
Oh, wow.
And over the last 25 years, Mane Attraction Salon has been able to raise over $425,000 in goals to help, these animals out there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we've been able to save, thousands and thousands of animals. So this event is actually coming up. It's going to be on Sunday, March 9th.
Yes.
It's going to be from 10 to 2. So things that you could expect, when you come out for that event are, we will have stylists available doing haircuts for minimum donations. We will have a DJ and a bake sale. My kids are always super pumped to come and help with the bake sale. And we're going to have a big raffle. And actually some of the raffle prizes are pretty massive. And you can go right now onto our website, which I'm sure will be in the show notes.
Yes.
But if you go to maneattractionsalon.com, you can actually click on events, go to Beauty to the Rescue tab, and all of the information will be right there. But tickets are just $5, and we're giving away some pretty crazy prizes. We're donating $1,000 gift card to the salon. So somebody's going to win $1,000 gift card. Somebody is going to win $500 cash. Someone else is going to win a $400 product basket. And somebody else is going to win some tickets to a Glimmer of Hope event, which is helping the beneficiary. So the beneficiary this year, which is something that we have changed, is a company called PAC 911.
Yeah.
And they support over 100 different rescue partners. So the way that looks and feels is that they're not a rescue organization themselves, but they support a lot of different ones. So their rescue partners, they get an animal, that's in need of medical condition, some kind. They need a spayed or neutered, or they need, they need to, get a leg fix. I don't know. Something's going on with them in order to get adopted. So we put all of the money that we raise every year into what they call a medical relief fund that just gives all year long. That's awesome. The medical relief fund, when one of these rescue partners has one of these dogs, they reach out to PAC 911, and with the Mane Attraction, amount of money that's there, they sponsor the dogs or the cats. So throughout the year, we get emails constantly with Toto just got saved and, found a new forever home. And and actually a couple of my dogs have come from, these events.
I was going to say, do you have pets of your own?
I do. Yeah. And I shouldn't be allowed to attend the event themselves. Because I might get another one. And the other major attraction, which I haven't referenced until now, because it might just be an obvious, but there will be animals for adoption there. We have 4 different rescues that will be there. And so there'll be all different kinds of animals. I think there's even a cat rescue. So, we're not, we try to support all the furry friends. So I have 5 furry friends at the home. I have 3 dogs and then 2 guinea pigs. And the guinea pigs are my kids'
personal pets.
I call it pet project, but that's pun very intended.
Yeah.
And then I have 3 dogs. So, and I have a favorite dog if he's listening. So Max, I love you.
Oh, yeah. We have 3 of our own. We have 2 cats and one dog.
Okay.
And we're in the same boat. We love animals. We have a much deep appreciation for the rescues as well, because I think 2 of them are rescues. And then the one Britt was here during her actual early beginnings. And then she found, did you find him or was given to you?
He was given to me.
Yeah. So he was given to her for her birthday.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had all 3 of them in this household with our young one. They've grown up with him, love him. And it's just the cutest thing getting him home, and he goes and says, hi. He says hi to them, verbatim, uses their name.
That's awesome.
It's just the cutest thing, because growing up around pets myself was definitely a big part of my childhood.
Yeah. It's clearly a mission of ours. One of our ideas is that we really want to bring the community together, and I think most companies, when they have, when they have a mission statement or they have cultural values, those are only as good as their ability to show up in the workplace.
Yep.
If we say, hey, a value that we have is teamwork, but then we don't support each other as team, or one of our values is education. So clearly we, put a lot of effort and talk behind that.
Yeah.
One of our, values is communication. So we're really big into communication. But we really want there to be a good sense of community. But how does that show up, right? Internally, there needs to be a strong sense of community. But how do you bring, the outside world and connect them to something that we have going on? And I think the common cause of, animals is just a glorious mission. I mean, it's one of the things that drew me here as an assistant, because that's how I started here at the salon.
Yeah.
And then obviously now it's one of the things that drives me as the owner. So it's just something that we just keep doing. So
I'm glad that you believe and really have a foundation where you can continue to do that on just the simple act of like what you did this morning of like going out, opening your door, and then putting seating out there for guests or people walking by to want to come by, sit next to your store, and actually maybe become a customer.
Yep. Well, yeah, that's, true. And also because we just don't have a lot of seating inside.
Yeah.
But we don't have people waiting up there for us. We're not the type of salon that, you'll come in and, your appointment will be at 9, but, we'll really do it at 10:30. We're just not there. So we really enjoy being efficient. Mm-hmm. So there's really not a lot of need for, and that's speaking of pandemic outcomes, if people don't have to spend another minute of their life waiting on you, that's ideal. So, if we're ever running late, the very first thing that we train our team to do is call our client. So I'll give you guys an example. Let's say that I was running late for this appointment. You probably would have appreciated a call around 6 or 7 in the morning, or at least a message and just said, hey, I'm running late.
Yeah.
Because then you could do what you needed to do at your house, right? You can be with your family more. You can run that one more errand. You can, and sometimes guests are rushing to get here. Mm-hmm. And then to find out that they have to wait is really insane, So it's just not a good customer experience. So we're very honest with, our team and, our clients, and, if something's going on, like it's way better just to speak to them and tell them that rather than to try to, pull wool over their eyes and pretend this isn't happening. So, but that goes back to my high touch component.
Yeah.
Right. So again, I'm not sure if a computer system, a blank text doesn't read the same way as a phone call from a live person saying, hey, we ran into a situation, the client before you, it's just something's going on with her hair. We're really trying to dial it in. We don't really want to shortchange her experience, but, in the same tune, we are going to run late for a few minutes for you. Would you, mind if, we pushed your appointment out 15, 20 minutes? Can you come in a little later?
Yeah.
And if the client says, no, that ruins my life, I needed to catch an airplane or something, then there's other levers that we can pull, right? So maybe we'll, pull an assistant who's actually gone through a lot of training and help, maybe do the shampoo to expedite the service, or, maybe there's wiggle room in like other ways. But, and we don't always try to bring it up to the surface, if we can be that, swan on the lake, the maybe on top of the lake, we're smooth, but underneath, in the back room, we're like walking and then we run to the other side.
Yeah.
So like that happens in any good business. And we don't want the guests to, kind of know that stuff is kind of happening. When we were in Barcelona, we all were cutting hair. Mm-hmm. And so we all had this, hair that was on the ground, and we put it all together, and we spelled out things, Oh,
so, that's so smart. That's great.
Yeah, kind of weird, but also smart. Yeah.
Hey, man, you got to do something to make you stand out in those moments.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Okay, so what was your question?
So personally, I would love to understand, again, I think you may have brought this up in our last podcast, but just like personally for you, how much this business has made you be creative, made you just like overall, like the things that, you find joyous in the moments being a teacher, being a owner overall, just things that may stand out to you personally?
My role has evolved, from assistant to lead teacher to manager to co-owner to owner to leader at this point.
Yeah.
So I think what gives me the greatest joy is watching other people hit their stride. We have first year stylists that are breaking all sorts of records.
Mm-hmm.
That to me matters more than anything.
Yeah.
We used to have company goals and budgets and do bonuses based on company numbers. And although I still create budgets and company goals, the bonuses are not tied to what the company does. The bonuses are tied to what the individual does, because their dent is should be celebrated.
Mm-hmm.
And we have people that have been here for 30 years that can only gift us 3 days a week. And I think that that's amazing. And they have a huge contribution, but just based on their availability, they can't contribute as much as someone who's maybe doing 5 days a week. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean that they're not any less important.
Yeah.
And that mindset of mine has really taken root into kind of where I see the company going.
Yeah.
And we really try to work with the individual and what fuels them.
Yeah.
Because Jada's motivators are very different than some other people's motivators.
Yeah.
Some people are fueled by fire underneath them. Some people are fueled by goals in front of them. And that has been a really wonderful, just personal development that I've had to go through in order to kind of meet people where they're at. So that I think has been my true joy the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Is to kind of settle into, it's not what I want that matters. It's what they want. And I think if we get enough people get what they want, then, the company will do what it needs to do.
Yeah.
So I want to break for a moment and talk about products. So this is a leave-in product. It's called Hairdresser's Invisible Oil. It is glorious. It's got 6 different lightweight oils in there.
It smells great.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a good product for you to use after you wash your hair. It could be something that you put in and just let air dry.
Yeah.
So at this moment, you could just let it air dry, and then you'll get this wonderful texture and kind of thing kind of going on. And then obviously we'll be able to blow it dry too, but it'll add a lot of softness to your hair. The other 2 products that I'm going to put in, this is called thickening spray. That's designed to be right at your root. And that is just for a little bit more volume, a little bit more hold. I bet your hair has a tendency of being a little dry through the ends, but then greasy at the root. Yep. So the greasy at the root bit will get solved by that. Okay. So, but it's only for the root area. And so I'll spray, I'll take it in sections, and I'll just put it here. For someone that doesn't use a lot of products, or someone who doesn't blow dry their hair a ton, to be honest, this one might be a little extra for you. I mean, I'm going to, so clearly I need all the, product support I can get. Yeah. And then the last product that I'm going to put is a product called All Style. And this product is going to help add a little bit of moisture through the ends, but still leaving it lived in and kind of soft. So you can definitely overdo some product. The Hairdresser's Invisible Oil, that first one, you should be very liberal with. Okay. I would think 8 to 10 sprays right when you get out of the shower. I mean, I put it on a few different times. Yeah. I put it on right when we were at the shampoo bowl. I put it in before I used one of the tools that I used. And then I also am using it now. So the All Style should be middle through the ends of your hair, though. Okay. So you really need to make sure to only put this through kind of the middle to the ends. Yeah. So when it comes to product usage, it's very important for us to kind of go through some of that with people, because a lot of guests, when they get home, wow, what did he say? I don't remember exactly what was happening with it. I mean, you can read the back of the bottle and kind of go from there, but good product usage is really important. But you can already tell there's already a lot more texture and movement in it without doing anything. And that's some of the layering and some of the other kind of stuff with it. So
Chris, I think I'd like to kind of pivot our conversation to the future and kind of like understanding this as a legacy piece. One of the first questions that I probably would ask any one of our other customers who have a family like yours, not only the students that you have, but also your personal family. Have your kids expressed any interest in what you do?
So my son came home from school in 5th grade and he had this photo drawn of this person. I couldn't tell if it was who it was. It was almost like a stick person, but above their shoulders was this like amount of like action. It was a head and like big eyes. And I said, what was that? He said, well, we had career day at school. And I said, okay, what does this mean? He's like, well, I want to be a hairdresser like you. And I said, okay, tell me about the photo. He's like, well, that's my crazy client. Well, you all have one of those, right? So I had to be careful about like maybe how I talk about things at home. But no, I don't know if, like when I was young growing up in a family of hairdressers, it was actually the last thing that I wanted to do because I didn't want to live under their shadow or have opportunities that were open just because of who my family was. So I purposely stayed away from it until I was in my late 20s. I had a quarter life crisis and I was like, hey, I got to do something with my life that matters. Let's, figure something out. Yeah. And that's when I became very interested in what I'll call the family business, even though this is not Knutson family owned. It was, Mane Attraction family owned. Yeah. And I saw my brother go through the onboarding of getting in the industry, going through my dad's beauty school and then becoming a teacher. And I mean, Alex, I love you, but I seriously thought if he could do it, anybody could. And so that was the major turning point kind of for me. And if any one of my kids or my nieces or nephews on my brother's side become hairdressers, that will be a 4th generation stylist, which would be really interesting to kind of talk about. Yeah, I think they weren't like, we're not only 3rd generation hairdressers, but we're 3rd generation salon operators. Mm-hmm. So from my grandparents to my parents to us, there's just some really neat legacy lineage there. Yeah. And so I had an unfair advantage when I got involved in the industry because my parents said, go through an assistance program, go find a salon that was really good at training, go find a salon that was actually run like a business, find one that had a P&L and a marketing plan and a retention plan and a retail plan and a training plan and, all of the plans. Yeah. And so that's why I started here. And awesome. So that it felt so right. Yeah. And so I think, whoever takes on the generation after me, whether it's somebody here at the salon or whether it's somebody in my family, and they'll have to earn it, by the way. My kids will not be gifted anything. Yeah. So if they start, they will go to school, they will sweep hair, they will bring in models. I will not help them. Like they will do it their own way because you have a lot more depth as a salon owner when you were once the technician. And so now I can coach Jada because, I've been there. Yeah. I know what it's like. I've brought in, I've done the payment plan. And so now we're here. So
awesome. I think one of the only questions that I have left is just, again, talking about the future goals of what Mane Attraction has to provide it besides the events and besides the retention, besides the school. Is there anything that we have left out that you really have a focus on wanting to provide for the community and for your clients?
I really want us just to keep delivering our promise, 40 years from now. Yeah. What I can't know now is what exactly that will look like. Maybe the shampoo bowls will be aqua massage type of scenarios where someone lays in like a cocoon and, they just press a button. I want this pressure. I want that shampoo. And that's just, some amazing experience. Maybe the consultation experience is these mirrors being software program where I could actually real time show Brittany what you would look like with highlights or full bangs or whatever, just by touching a mirror. Yeah. So I'm going to continue to follow how to deliver a good customer experience. Yeah. And the one thing is just the lovey part. I think we're always going to keep strong with. So, all right. But we're going to renovate the salon at some point here. We need to make room for all my up and coming stars. a promise that I make them is that they'll have a chair.
Yeah.
It would be really poor form to train them and then say, okay, we don't have a place for you to work.
Yeah.
So we're going to celebrate 50 years here in a couple of years. And I want to have this space be, legacy.
Well, Chris, we're finishing up today. I have one last question. It's really just for you to promote what Mane Attraction has going on, not only as the storefront, the email, the events that we may not have caught along the way. So now is your chance to really promote like we did last time into the camera. Go right ahead. The floor is yours.
So Mane Attraction Salon has been around since 1977, and we're waiting for you to experience our brand. So if you want to experience it behind the chair, you can book online, go to maneattractionsalon.com, or one of our client care coordinators would love to take your call, book you an appointment. We have many stylists that can meet your needs between cutting, coloring, texture services, just blow drying. Maybe you just want some advice. You can book a consultation. Sometimes that's a great kind of entrance to kind of our brand. But we've been at 32nd Street in Camelback since the early 80s. We're in the Safeway complex. It's hard to mix. But we would love to see you as a guest. If you're somehow reading this or listening to this podcast and you are a stylist and you're interested in working for us, feel free to drop us an online application. Also can be found on our website. We constantly have different philanthropic events throughout the year. The most notable one is coming up on March the 9th, like we spoke about. It's Beauty to the Rescue. All of those details, again, can be found on our website, maneattractionsalon.com. Go to the events page. You can buy raffle tickets. You can bid on silent auction gifts. You can, kind of learn about the event and actually physically come on that day and come check us out.
Awesome.
That's the best way to find out about us.
Well, thank you, Chris, for everything. As always, you can hear every episode of our podcast at findingarizonapodcast.com. All social media under Finding Arizona Podcast. And last but not least, kisses, hugs, and belly rubs to our four-legged friends. We will see you next time. Bye.